Okay, welcome to a reading. I have not done one of these for other people before, generally speaking, and I tried to do one before, but it really came back strongly my own. So I'm going to go ahead and try and redo this. I want to show you again how I do readings for me. I really feel like people should be doing their own readings, and I know not everybody wants to do that, but you can get a Rider-Waite tarot deck pretty cheap, and I do suggest that you give it a try. Nobody else will be able to pick up on your energy better than you can pick up on your own. So normally what I do for a reading is I'll note any occurrences of things that happen as I go on walks. So the first thing is I'll put up a picture here of a deer that I saw just kind of chilling out. This was yesterday and I didn't really understand why it was kind of calling to me, but it's a nice picture and the deer is just kind of chilling out. And I didn't think it would be applicable to this reading, but I saw things later that kind of made me think it may apply. Now the next thing I'll show you is I have some sprouts of lilies that I've planted that are kind of coming up, and I do have some trees that are kind of finally starting to sprout, and one of them is an oak tree. So one of the oracle cards I have picked is an oak tree at the top. I'll run through the decks here in just a moment. I also did see a towhee, I believe is the pronunciation. So it's a kind of a local sparrow. Apparently, they don't look much like sparrows. I'll try to give you a picture here of what a towhee looks like. But the cards that I have are, I believe they're European bird cards, so I'm just going to use sparrow because they're kind of the same family. And we'll use that as one of our oracle cards. Now what I'll do is I'll do 3 oracle cards. 2 of them I've already picked. One is the sparrow because that's what I saw. One is the oak tree because, as I mentioned, my oak tree is now starting to bud and grow. So that seems significant. And the last one I'll do an oracle card from a set that's made by Arthur Rackham. I really like his artwork. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's an old fantasy artist. I believe he's English. Anyway, I really like his cards, and one of them already wanted to come out, so I'll kind of discuss that. I'll then pull 3 cards, one for past, present, future, and then I'll clarify with the Rider-Waite tarot deck. I'm using the Light Seers Tarot for the regular readings for past, present, future, and the bird is from Jeannie Ruland. The Celtic Tree Guidebook is by Sherilyn Hidalgo, and Arthur Rackham's oracle cards there. The other thing that I will say is that today was really, really bright and blue. There's no clouds at all in the sky, so it really is kind of a clear day. I think I've been kind of considering the nature of seeing things clearly and figuring things out. And there is one more picture that I want to notice, or I want to bring to your attention, which is these plants that are native plants, and I'll give you the name here. But they are edible, and I noticed that deer have been chewing on them, and they kind of were calling to me here to be noticed. And so I thought that's interesting that I saw that deer, and then I'm sure that deer have been biting off the flowers. They like to eat flowers a lot of the time. But this whole plant is edible, and the taproot actually used to be used as food by people, by a lot of native people, especially if they were short on food. So the taproot is apparently the least bitter part of the plant, but the plant itself is edible, a lot like dandelions. So I have a feeling. Let's look at the oracle cards already. I have a feeling that someone's trying to get grounded and figure out a way of doing things. And I feel like they may be around other people that can kind of give them help to figure out how they're going to make their way through life to be more practical. Okay? If that makes sense. Now the sparrow card is tied to the idea, apparently, according to the oracle card itself, of creating space for the new and making new development. I will say sparrows are very, very gregarious, so they'll hang out in big groups and they'll socialize. They'll tend to socialize with one another. They can get a little bit, I don't know what you would call that, a little bit aggressive, I guess, particularly with other birds that are not sparrows or kind of with each other. They can get a little garrulous. But for me, a sparrow is very, very sociable. It's a sociable bird, and they make a lot of noise, and they tend to get along pretty well together. Now, the oak tree is a grounded tree. It's tied to being grounded. It's also tied to fertility and significant growth, and strength. So I see a lot of things that are kind of tying to the ground, and today is a 444 day. It's April 20, 2024, so you can simplify that to 444. And 4 for me means stability and grounding. So a lot of this ties in with the idea of finding a way to be grounded. And just like the deer are eating flowers and kind of showing us what kind of can be eaten and what kind of can't be eaten, I feel like perhaps there are some people around you that live kind of a simple way, a simple yet wise way of living, that if you pay attention, they may be able to help you. Okay? One of the oracle cards, this oracle card came out and it's ending. So I feel like something might be coming to an ending, and you may be looking for a new way of doing things. I'll pull one card from here. Forbidden fruit. Mind your own business. So perhaps in a way, you've been thinking of larger scope things, and it's time to really narrow in on smaller scope things that involve you and the people around you. And if you can simplify that and clarify those things, maybe it will be of some help to you. I do have 2 stones here that have horoscope signs. I don't know who this reading is for yet. I won't know until the end of the reading. Okay? Let's go ahead and pull 3 cards for past, present, future of what's kind of going on. Again, pre-shuffled. This is Light Seer's Tarot. Knight of Swords inverted. King of Wands, or a Knight of Wands inverted. And then the Hierophant. Okay, so I want to see what else comes out, but for me right now, right off the bat, this looks like someone who's been trying to free themselves from anxiety or suffering, and perhaps has been dealing with someone that is kind of wild, and now is looking for something stable, and perhaps even is looking for a way to establish some form of an elevation, a stairway to an elevation. If you notice the stairway in the back there, a stairway to an elevation or an elevated way of life. Okay, and a lot of times that's very simple. If you notice, they're sitting kind of in a yoga pose, so perhaps simplicity is the way towards this elevation. Let's go ahead and clarify these now. I have King of Swords and 2 of Cups for the 9 of Swords. There may have been some form of deception or unfair decision regarding a relationship that was causing this anxiety in the past. Perhaps that's the past of the matter, and perhaps that's the source of the lack of stability now. This is normally a card of rest and reflection, and this is a card of karma. So someone perhaps is going through a process of finalizing reflection and understanding karma tied to a Knight of Wands, and that's happening currently. In the future, there's a struggle and a turning away from things in the past that may have been failures of emotional fulfillment. If you notice in the back, here's our 2 cups, and here in the beginning is our 2 of cups. So this looks like a process of gaining wisdom And here I would say from the previous photos, here's the concept of being surrounded and trying to understand the nature of a garrulous, sociable world. It is a little bit like fighting. Of course, wands are also creating life. They're also, if you notice, each one of these has sprouts on it that are growing. So although there is a struggle, the struggle is inherently part of life. So I would say this may be saying to observe it, observe the nature of that, try to understand it, and come away from this idea of failure in the past and recognize the possibility of building in the present with that Two of Cups, or attaining that possibly in the future if you're able to come to terms with what's happened in the past and the cycle of karma and be at peace with yourself and live a simple life. There still are these two cups left to build on. That seems to be the basic idea of the reading, in my opinion. If you have comments, let me know. Here are the two signs that this appears to be for, and I'll put them up on the description when I post the video. Hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you later.